Hello my fellow knitters, and welcome to video tutorial and video companion for my new pattern ZUZU Baby Socks. So I've designed those socks for somebody who is a first-time sock knitter because in this tiny little design baby sock we have all the elements of a traditional top-down sock. So let me show you. So usually when we work top-down, so we have a leg part, we have a heel flap, we have a torn heel, gusset, foot, and a toe, and we have all the elements here. All we need is about 24 grams of a DK weight yarn, double pointed needles in US 3, and just a little bit of patience, and in a few hours you will have exactly the same result. So what I added in this pattern, I actually added elastic, and so I'll show you how to make it. You know, it's very easy, but we have elastic inside and it would fit baby perfectly and have a fit safely on a baby feet. So also don't be intimidated by a color work, because this is just an embroidery. It's not intarsia, it's not anything else, it's not scary. So what we do, we finish complete sock and then we use a duplicate stitch technique, which is very easy. It just takes a little bit of practice, and we embroider this design on top. So let's start. So using DK weight yarn and double pointed needles in US 3 size, we need to cast on 24 stitches, and I'm using old Norwegian method of cast on because it's got very elastic kind of edge. And make sure you have extra yarn left at the end, about 10 inches, because we will need it for for finishing part of our socks. So, and I have my row counter here ready. So the way I do this way of casting on, so I make a slip knot and then I go down, I go inside, I pick my yarn and I pull it through. So go down, go back inside, pick up the yarn and pull it through. So what it does, it has very nice elastic, a very attractive edge, and it just, I always do it when I pick up stitches for my socks. So again, we go down, we go up inside the loop and pull it through. So again, down inside the loop and pull it through. So it's very similar cast on to long tail cast on, but with a little twist. So you will need to cast on 24 stitches. So now we have 24 stitches and extra yarn on the end that we will use at the end of the knitting. And as you can see, it's a very attractive, nice edge. Even that in this particular socks, it would be inside, we wouldn't be able to see it. But it's a nice way to learn this cast on, old Norwegian cast on. So now we have to put it on 3 different needles, and we would work with the 4th one. So for this particular sock, what we're gonna do, on a needle 1, we will put 6 stitches. So it's right here, 6. On a needle 2, we will put 12 stitches. Let's see. And a bit more, 1 more. So let's count 6, 12, and what we would leave on a 3rd needle, 6 stitches. So this way you will see why we will need it by the end. But so we've done this part, and now make sure that you're not twisting it. Use stitches and start working in around. And this thing, just ignore the tail. So I suggest to work on nice firm stitches, you know, don't make them too loose, because socks loves firm stitches. And what we do next, we're using our 4th needle, and we knit around for 6 rounds. That's why I have a row counter to kind of keep me on track. So for our next round, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, but make sure that on each needle by the end you will have exactly the same amount of stitches that you started with. Like for example, I'm working with a cotton yarn. It's not going very smoothly, but it's gonna have a beautiful outcome. So make sure you do yarn over on each end of the needle, and don't worry, it's not gonna go anywhere. So we do yarn over on the last needle, and then when we turn it to the next, it's gonna stay in place. So we finished our leg part. So we knitted 6 rounds. We did decrease and yarn over a round and another 6 rounds. And now we're ready to make a heel flap, and it's this part right here. So what we do next is knit 6 stitches, and you're at the beginning of the round right here. So knit 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now we turn work. So what we do when we do heel flap, we don't work it in a round, and now we have to purl those stitches. Purl 6 stitches, okay, and now we'll put this needle aside, and we're going to purl next 6 stitches. So that would make our heel flap 12 stitches in total. And again, it may feel a little awkward at the beginning because we work with a small amount of stitches and small needles, but you're going to be fine. So here it is. So what is going to be those stitches we just worked? It's going to be our heel flap, this part right here. And this is, we're not going to touch it, we're going to leave it on this needle. And this is our instep, and it's this part right here. So next row, turn your work, and now slip first stitch as to purl with the yarn at the back and knit to the end. Then when you're done, so we have a slip stitch on one end, turn your work, slip first stitch as to purl with the yarn in front, and purl to the end. So what we're doing, we're just working on a heel flap with the slip stitches on each side, and we have to continue working like this. We'll have to repeat those last 2 rows 5 more times. So we finished our heel flap, and that's how it looks on the right side, and this is the wrong side, and you can see 2 rows of slip stitches that we will knit later on for picking up stitches, just like so. And now we're ready to make a turn heel. And turn heel is this little part right here. So what we do, we're still working in the rows, not in a round. We need 7 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we need 2 stitches together. Splitting on me cotton yarn. And then need next one, and we turn. Then we slip first stitch as to purl with the yarn in front and purl 3 stitches. Then purl 2 together, purl 1, and then we turn. Now slip first stitch as to purl with the yarn on the back, knit 4 stitches, knit 2 together. Oops, I'll just straight off. Knit 2 together, knit 1, and then turn. And the last row is slip 1 as to purl with the yarn in front, purl 5 next stitches, then purl 2 together, and then purl 1. So what we have here, we just made a turn heel, and we can see that this tiny little baby heel can fit here very nicely and comfortably. So now we're ready to do step number 4, and it's a gusset. And what a gusset does, we have to bring all our stitches back on 3 needles and continue working around until very end. So to do that, we need to, using a free needle, knit 4 stitches of the heel, 3, 4, leave it on this needle, and then using another 3 needle, just leave it on there, and knit next 4 stitches, and using the same needle, we're going to pick up stitches along a heel flap. And let's kind of examine that. So as you can remember, we slip stitched first stitches on each row of heel flap, and now we have those very well defined stitches on each side. So when we are picking them up, make sure you go under both legs. So I'll show you kind of on a close-up right here. So, and we need to pick up 6 stitches. So let's count. So we're gonna, I start from this end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're gonna skip this slip stitch right here. So we're starting with this one. So we're using the same needle, and we go under, so you have to kind of turn it. We go under both legs and picking up stitches, 6 stitches on each side. And no worries, you're not going to have a hole. See, it's very nicely, just pull them through nicely. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we pick them up here, and what we should have 10 stitches in total on this needle. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Perfect. And we're going to leave it here. So as you can see, we only need to pick up work here and pick up those stitches, and we are back and working around. So this is our instep stitches right here, 12 stitches, and it's this part right here, and we don't do, we just knit them. So this part is easy. So knit 12 stitches of instep. And now we're gonna do the same thing and pick up 6 stitches on a heel flap on this side. Okay, so let's count again, and let's count here. 1 2 3 4 5 6, and make sure you go under both legs again, right? So using a free needle, we're gonna pick up those stitches right here. So this is would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and now using the same needle, oops, I don't have here, the same needle, we need first 4 stitches of our heel. So what we ending up with, we ending up with 10 stitches on each side, where the heel, middle of the heel is our beginning of the round, and 12 stitches on our instep. So now we're ready for second part of our gusset, and what we will be doing is working some decrease row to make it kind of more fitted to shape of a foot. So to do that, and again, the beginning of our round is the center of our heel. So what we do, we knit 1 round. So we finished the round, and now we need to do some decreasing right here on both sides of instep. So this is our instep, so on both sides we will do this decreasing. So to do that, it's actually very, very simple. So knit 2 last 3 stitches of needle 1, so we have 3 stitches left, knit 2 stitches together, knit 1. Okay, so we decreased 1 stitch, and then we just work stitches on the instep just as it is, just knit 12 stitches of an instep, and on the third needle we have to do the same type of decreasing but symmetrical on the third needle. So what we do, we knit first stitch, and then we slip, slip, knit. So we decreased 1 more stitch, and then knit to the end. So we decrease 2 stitches on 2 sides, and now it's gonna shape very nicely. So what we're gonna do next, we will repeat last 2 rows 3 more times. So we're done with our gusset part, and now you can see that we have a nice decrease rounds on both sides, and now it's gonna shape very nicely baby foot. So also you have to double check that by the end of the gusset part you will have exactly the same amount of stitches that you started with. You should have 6 stitches on needle 1, 12 on instep on needle 2, and 6 on needle 3. So, and then we're gonna work on a foot, and it's actually the easiest part of a sock for me, because all you do, you have to knit 10 rounds. So use your free needle and just knit around for 10 rounds. Difficult at all. So to finish the toe, we will need to work decreasing rounds, and to do that we start again with the beginning of round on our kind of middle of the heel on the bottom of our foot, and we need to last 3 stitches of needle 1. So we have 3 stitches. So next, knit 2 together. Again, I have this cotton yarn and bamboo needles, and they're not very slippery. So knit 2 together, knit 1. Then on a second needle, remember how it used to be just like this? We were just sewing, knitting this just straight without any decrease until now. And now on needle 2 we knit 1, slip, slip, knit, pull stitches tight, then again knit to last 3 stitches on a needle 2, so I'm gonna move this needle here, then knit 2 together, okay, knit 1. So we did decrease 2 stitches on a needle 2, and on a needle 3 we'll have to do it symmetrically to the needle 1. So we knit 1, slip, slip, knit, and knit to the end. So next round just knit all stitches. So by the end we should have 8 stitches in total. So we have some more decreasing to do. Knit. And what we have now, so we complete our sock. So we finished our toe, and as you can see it looks very nice, and we have right amount of stitches. So we should have 8 stitches in the end, 2 on the first needle, 4 on the second, and 2 on the third, so total of 8 stitches. And now we're ready to cut our yarn. So take scissors and cut about, like, I don't know, 4 inches, and you will need a tapestry needle for that. Thread your yarn into tapestry needle, okay, and now just thread it into a stream of stitches. 1, 2, and the third one. So now we have to pull it tight, and then I'm gonna gonna go second time around here. So I'm trying to hide those stitches here, and then I'll push a needle on the wrong side, and I will weave the ends on the wrong side. So we finished knitting our ZUZU baby sock. It turned out wonderfully, and now we're ready to finish picot edge just the way we have it right here. So for this we have to turn our baby sock wrong side up, on the wrong side, and now let me pull this out. We will need this yarn. Right now we will need to cut elastic tape about 4 inches and 3/4, so almost 5 inches long, and I already have one ready here. So what you have to do, you have to overlap it and sew the ends together, and now we will kind of put it around our baby sock. So here, this is this elastic part that would keep our baby feet safe and secure, baby socks on baby's feet, nicely and secure. So now we're folding on the wrong side, and remember this round that we did with knit 2 together and yarn overs? This is exactly, we should have this right at the edge. So we have this kind of little crown on top. So, and it's beautifully hiding our elastic here. So now that's why we needed a long tail length, and because what we needed to do is we're gonna use it, we're gonna thread it and use it to sew this part to the sock, but we have to do it so it wouldn't show up on the right side. So make sure that this crown is beautifully on top, and just slip stitch just like so, using a slip stitch, and kind of hide it nicely. Don't pull it too tight, because you know we wouldn't be able to stretch it otherwise, because it has to be stretchable. So now here on the corners, remember we were picking up the stitches for our gusset? So usually it makes a little holes on each side, on both sides, and there's several ways to do it, to kind of get rid of them during knitting or after. But in this case, since we're sewing it anyway, I think it would be really wonderfully kind of great opportunity to fix this little hole just like this. And I'm making sure that those stitches would not show. I'm just kind of like weaving it through and making sure that those my new stitches would not show on the right side. So here I just closed it, I just pulled it through, so you don't need much, but this way it would look really nice on the right side. You see there is no hole here, so it works beautifully for this design, this technique. So just finished sewing it in around, and again making sure that you're not pulling stitches too tight, because it still has to be kind of stretchy. So here we are, we're continuing sewing this picot edge on the wrong side, and we reached the part where we have a tiny little hole, it's kind of opening, where we were picking up stitches on the heel for the gusset. So we're gonna do the same thing that we did on another side. So I'm just gonna weave my needle through existing stitches and kind of try to pull these stitches closer together. You don't need much, you know, it's very easy to do. Just make sure that you're not showing the new stitches, this weaving you've done. See, I just closed it on the right side, and just finish sewing it on the wrong side together. Okay, we finished the circle, the round, and I really don't need to do much. Basically, I'm just hiding it inside. And I'm gonna take my scissors and just trim the end of the yarn. And here it is. This is on the wrong side. We have elastic inside. And now we're turning it on the right side. And we have a beautiful little crown picot edge on top with elastic hiding inside. And so all we need to do now is to embroider a design on top of it right here. So we finished knitting our sock, and now it's time for embroidery. So here I have a chart, and we're gonna start with a stitch right here in the center on the bottom. And the way it works, so I'm using the same type of yarn that I knitted a sock with, it just in a different color. And I will need, the whole design will take 3 colors for embroidery. So the way it works, we're gonna use each knit stitch, you can see this V, equals 1 square of a design in our chart. So once you get this, it's very easy to kind of understand that and complete the duplicate stitch. It's simple technique, but it does need a little bit of practice. And I would say the most important part when you work on duplicate stitch is tension. So you cannot be too tight or too loose. Tension has to be just right, just like in your knitting. So a little bit of practice would help. So the way I start the design is right in the center. And if I open kind of like our sock right here, just like this, and so we can see the center line right here. So, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna count 6 stitches from a center of a toe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're gonna start working on the 7th. So our 7th stitch is gonna be this bottom stitch right here. So what I did, I pulled my needle from inside out, and I'm kind of like keep pulling it once I have like maybe 3-4 inch tail that is there, I'm just gonna leave it there for now, and I will weave in ends later on. So again, each square equals 1 knit stitch, this little V. So what we're gonna do, duplicate stitch is basically fake knit stitch, so we have to duplicate this. So we're doing just this. Don't rush, don't pull too tight, don't make it too loose. As you remember, the most important part is tension. And now, so we go back to the center of it, and here we are. So we have 1 knit stitch that we cover the stitch below, and it equals 1 stitch here. Just continue. So I made a few rows above our first stitch, and here is a little technique I use. Sometimes it's hard to see where the right row of our stitches is, and for this I suggest just simply stretch your piece vertically, in this case sock, and you will see more defined line of the right row. So right now I'm going in the row above, so I am right here. So I'm gonna make those 3 stitches, and by stretching my sock vertically, I have an easier way to see where exactly I need to go next. So we finished with a darker color of our duplicate stitch, and now we can work blue and white. So here I have a blue color, and I already threaded inside and kind of wove it in. And now I'm gonna come out right here in the center, pull it through, stretch it vertically, just that helps to see stitches way more kind of defined. And then I am duplicating it, taking my time, not rushing, not pulling anything too tight, and working stitch by stitch. So that's one, and then I'm gonna go and work stitch just above that. Go back here, see, and go back in the center of the V. So we just completed 1, 2, 1, 2 of this, and now we have to finish the whole section of a blue yarn and then move to white. So we finished our duplicate stitch embroidery, and now it looks beautiful, just it looks exactly how I want it to look. And don't forget to make a second sock, and happy knitting!